And welcome, everybody. Hands on Apologetics. You have entered into Virgin Most Powerful Apologetics Dojo. Where do we get that hope for the Messiah? How do we know about the Messiah? Where is the Messiah prophesied in the Old Testament scriptures? Well, to help us kind of uncover the Old Testament messianic prophecies and foreshadowings, we have none other than Dr. Mary Healy. Dr. Healy is the professor of sacred scripture at Sacred Heart Major Seminary here in Detroit, and an international speaker on topics related to scripture, evangelism, healing, and spiritual life. She's the general editor of the Catholic Commentary on Sacred Scripture and the author of two of its volumes on the Gospel of Mark and Hebrews. And you can find out all the great stuff that Dr. Healy has done and written at her website, which is www.drmaryhealy.com, drmaryhealy.com, but just abbreviate that, and it's all one word, drmaryhealy.com. And Dr. Healy, welcome to Hands on Apologetics.
Thank you so much. It's good to be with you.
It's great to be with you. You know, right before the show, I wanted to get an updated bio of you, and we've met a few times in the past. I don't know if you remember. I'm hard to forget because I'm so tall.
Okay.
But I've been following you. I love your commentaries on Mark and Hebrews. I've used them a lot. But I went to your site. I didn't realize you've been very busy. There's some fantastic books that you've read. I would love to.
Pretty busy.
Yes, I would love to have you sometime on to talk about healing.
Sure, I'd love to.
Yeah, very good. So, yeah, keep up the good work. This is fantastic. So let's talk about Jesus. Thank you.
All right, it's always a good time to talk about Jesus.
Yeah. So Christmas is coming up, and of course, Jesus is the hope of Israel. But where did the Israelites get the hope for the coming Messiah? What text would we go to?
Well, there are so many. And, of course, when I think of the Jewish people hoping and waiting and longing for the Messiah, I can't help but think of the greatest Bible study ever given, which is Jesus' conversation with two disciples on the road to Emmaus.
Okay.
And you know that story from Luke 24 when it says, he interpreted for them all the things in the scriptures concerning himself, in the law and the prophets, and in the writings. And that walk was most likely an 18-mile walk. So just imagine hours and hours on the road with Jesus as he points them to all the scriptures that pointed to or foreshadowed himself. And I just imagine Cleopas, the disciple, and his friend saying, wow, oh my gosh, I never saw that. Yes, I see now, I get it, wow. And that should be our experience too as we read the Old Testament, all of it written long before the coming of Jesus, and we realize that God had already planned out everything beforehand, and he had already given hints, prophecies, foreshadowings, types and figures, and in a multitude of different ways, he had prepared his people for the coming of his son.
Wow, that's beautiful.
So maybe the best place to start is the very first messianic prophecy. I think most people would recognize this verse as such. It's Genesis 3:15, and it's right after the fall of Adam and Eve. And they have just disobeyed God and inaugurated the whole horrible, tragic history of human sin and all the effects of sin. And in the midst of this kind of unfolding disaster, God suddenly kind of he kind of slips in a word of prophecy in his condemnation of the serpent. God says, I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your seed and her seed, and he will crush your head. You will crush his heel, meaning you will deal the seed of the woman a blow, but the seed of the woman is going to deal you a fatal blow. And so this tragedy that you have launched by tempting and seducing Adam and Eve, it's all going to be undone. There's going to be a seed of the woman who will come and will bring a reversal of this original sin and everything that came with it. So, of course, looking in hindsight now, we can see that the woman is fulfilled in the new Eve, Mary, and it's her seed who is the Messiah, who has definitively once and for all crushed the head of the serpent, defeated Satan by his death on the cross. Yeah. So that's the very first messianic prophecy. And what you might notice here, and with many of the prophecies in the Old Testament, is that they're not given in a very precise, detailed way. That's not the way God gives prophecy. He doesn't give a full color, completely mapped out timeline with details, with everything exactly as it's going to be, so that we can predict everything to a T beforehand. Instead, he gives like brush strokes, or you could say it's like a sketch, or it's like a black and white image, and it's only when the reality happens that we can look back at the prophecy and say, oh, that's what it meant. Only when the reality happens do we see the full color picture. Yeah. So a prophecy it's always kind of like a silhouette. It's not the full 3D full color picture. And God just designed it that way because he didn't want us to have a full picture beforehand. He only wanted us to be able to see once he has accomplished his word. He wants us to be able to look back and see, oh, God said it was going to be like that. And now I understand what he prophesied.
Yes.
Now,
yeah, very good. So in a sense, hindsight's 20/20. It's exactly. You really don't realize things are as they are until after it occurs.
Yes, that's right. Hindsight is 20/20, and the prophecies beforehand there's a certain shadowiness to them.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there are some that are very specific. For example, one of the famous verses that we read during Advent is from Micah, which prophesies that the Messiah will be born in